Welcome to the Business of Platforms, a video podcast series where Vivaldi will be chatting with the world's leading marketers, thinkers, and innovators about the evolution of business and the exciting ways in which platforms are helping companies and brands deliver greater value.
Hello, my name is Eric Joachimsthaler. I am the founder and chief executive officer of Vivaldi. Welcome to the podcast again. I am here today with Rajamannar. Raja is the chief marketing and communications officer of MasterCard. And I have to say a few things about Raja, because Raja has been nominated numerous times as the Global Marketer of the Year. He's been rated the world's top 5 most influential chief marketing officers by Forbes magazine. Raja is such a special breed of executive. He's been spending half of his life, career, let's say, managing a profit and loss P&L, so an operating executive, and half he has been leading marketing transformations in some of the most amazing companies, Citigroup, Unilever, and Humana, in different industries and different categories. I just also need to say a bit about MasterCard, because it is so amazing to think that we have here Raja, who represents one of the top global digital payment platforms. There are more than 2 billion people daily using MasterCard. MasterCard is a company that is worth, and I checked this today in Yahoo Finance, worth about $220 billion. Now that is a lot. It's 4 times what BMW is worth, just to think about the ultimate driving machine. It is not that much as Facebook. They're still at $500 billion or $500 billion, let's say, but respectable. This is MasterCard. Now here's a statistic. MasterCard handles every year $5.2 trillion of transactions, payment transactions. And now, this is important, this is more than the entire GDP of Germany. Just to think of the enormous impact that MasterCard here has. Welcome, Raja.
Thank you very much.
I hope I have a bit of a due respect to your career and
Thank you.
That's so
very
wonderful.
Much. Thank you.
Raja, I'm interested in a few questions that the transformation that you're leading right now in creating a platform business and enhancing that. I look at it as something like you are in the process of engineering a shift from what I know of MasterCard, namely MasterCard, the Priceless moments, and the campaign that exists now since 20 years, done by McCann Erickson, and that has been hugely successful, to a shift that's called Priceless moments. And my question is, did you get tired of priceless moments?
Not at all. So firstly, it's not about moments per se. Mm-hmm. If you look at all the brands that are out there, MasterCard is one of the very few brands which has a concept like priceless uniquely associated with it. That concept, we have been bringing it to life over the last 20 years through advertising campaigns. Mm-hmm. In these advertising campaigns, what we were doing was to highlight priceless moments in people's lives. Mm-hmm. For example, when we began the campaign in 1997, at that point in time, we showed a father and a son going to a baseball match. We said
I have told that story so many times.
Right.
I'm glad you do that. Go.
So, when the father and son go to the baseball match, we say the price of the baseball ticket, for example, is some $6. Price of soda, $3.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, and what we finally say is that the time spent with your 11-year-old son is priceless.
Yes.
There are certain things that money cannot buy. For everything else, there is MasterCard. This is almost positioning of the approach quite contrarian. What I mean to say that is, if MasterCard was purely looking at payments and enhancing transactions, they would have focused on the transactions at that point in time. But the idea is, it's not transaction. There are things which are more important that are truly priceless. They are the things that matter. For everything else, leave it to us. We will take care of it with MasterCard.
But wait. You still encourage that for those things money can buy, for those,
MasterCard is there.
MasterCard is there.
Exactly.
So you encourage basically people to use the card to spend more.
We are more focusing on the priceless moments.
Yes.
As opposed to the spending moments.
Yes.
It's not the spending which is priceless, right? And that immediately struck a chord with all the audience around the world. So this last several years, 2 decades, the campaign got extended to nearly 110 countries, 58 languages. It became a part of the local culture and vernacular in many countries.
It is part of the marketing lesson of every executive program or MBA program, I would say.
Yes, it is an absolutely iconic campaign. So I was blessed to inherit that campaign 5 years back. So I was at a crossroads. Do I continue with the campaign the way it was? Or recognize the fact that this campaign was created when there was no social media, when there was no digital tsunami, literally. The world was a different place in 1997 compared to what it was 5 years ago. So without throwing the goodness of Priceless, how could we take that and evolve it to the next level? So we had 2 levels of evolution. The first evolution was still last year. So for the first 4 years, once we have decided to evolve the campaign, what we did was, we said Priceless is such a powerful concept and uniquely associated with MasterCard that we don't want to merely use it as an advertising campaign, but use it as a true marketing platform.
Love that.
And what that means is, infuse pricelessness into everything that we do. Infuse priceless into your products. Infuse priceless into your promotions and so on. And to be a holistic marketing platform as opposed to an advertising campaign. And in doing so, what we did was, we also recognized the fact that experiences matter more than things. So we said we will all be about experiential marketing, which means we create and curate experiences on 4 different platforms within MasterCard under the umbrella of Priceless. So for example, the first platform was called Priceless Cities. This is targeted to the more affluent segment of population. And we would create experiences that money cannot buy. So linking back to the original concept, it has to be truly priceless. And make those available to consumers. And if you experience as a consumer these priceless moments, you stick with us for the rest of your life, because it's truly, you have gone through pricelessness. You have experienced it. And likewise, we had Priceless Surprises, another platform. So Priceless Surprises was all about surprising and delighting consumers when they are least expecting. So for example, on the night of Grammy Awards, 3 years back, when we launched Priceless Surprises with Justin Timberlake. So we have a lot of sponsorships like Grammy Awards, and Justin Timberlake was a brand ambassador of MasterCard that year. And we had him featuring into our entire effort. What we did was, when people were going through their social media stream, whether on Twitter or Facebook, whatever, they get a message, hey, here is a priceless surprise from MasterCard. Click here to find out. So they click. When they click, it takes you to a place where it says, here is a free download, digital download of a Justin Timberlake song. You like it, you click it. He says, hey, one more surprise. You get 4 downloads of the same song, so that you can surprise your friends.
Oh, nice.
You keep one to for yourself.
Viral effect.
The viral effect, network effect also, right?
Excellent.
So we started looking at every dynamic that way and tried to see, and the kind of response we had that night gave us such a tremendous amount of encouragement that we went global. We went into different areas of consumer interests, what we call as consumer passion points. We identified 9 passion points and started curating these experiences.
I have many more than 9.
Well, they'll all boil down to 9 very important ones. And the point is, these are truly universal because as a company, we have got close to 2 billion consumers. And you have to appeal to all of them and to prospects who also we want to attract. So it was very important for us to organize the areas where we want to focus on, what kind of experiences we will give those experiences at scale, deliver on those experiences in a flawless fashion. If they are not priceless, then actually you're not delivering what you are actually giving, what you're promising. And that's not acceptable. And so we had to do it very thoughtfully. So till last year, we went on this journey, and the brand has been growing from strength to strength to strength, whether it is brand asset valuator. My brand is growing stronger compared to my competitors by at least 3 to 4 times, which is very good for us. Now what we said is, having got that kind of a success on our efforts, how can we take it to the next level? So instead of curating priceless moments and experiences, can we inspire priceless movements?
Amazing.
And these priceless movements are something which we don't necessarily curate, but what we are trying to do is to inspire people. Saying that there are things which are priceless, you should focus on them in your lives. As an example, it could be as simple as sit down for a dinner with your family.
Have a good conversation with me.
Have a good conversation on the meal and leave your phone away.
Yes.
That's truly priceless. And start those. And these small priceless moments in your life is what leads to the priceless movements.
Every little helps. I love it because there is such a big difference, because the Priceless Moments campaign, the huge success that you have created until last year, let's say, all the way in those 20 years, is still a situation where the consumer is in a lean back situation.
Yes.
And you are exposing the emotional moments.
Exactly.
But now you're saying you expect the consumer, me, the people, to lean forward and
you got it.
You said start something
priceless. That's exactly what, right? And there can be small things, as I said, like having a meal with your family, or adopting a dog from a shelter, or make a difference in a child's life.
Yes.
Or take a step to change the world.
Yes.
When you start these small steps, when you start something priceless, you have to act on something. Those are the ones which really become truly priceless movements. And this is what we wanted to do. And I'll give you a simple example of this.
Yes.
So within MasterCard's employee base, the employees themselves have come up with what they thought it would be a great movement.
Yes.
So they said they will create awareness and raise funds to find cures for ALS. And they created this campaign called SALSA.
Yeah.
SALSA. Right? It's a little creativity, and they were having fun. And they said you dance like the ice bucket challenge. They said here you just dance, make a salsa move. Now that to us is a priceless movement. People are taking themselves
literally a movement.
It is, right? And this is what we want to enable. This is what we want to really inspire. Like, for example, another thing I'll give you at a massive scale that we are doing.
But what I like about this is that you're not saying only to consumers that you should be seek out or start something. You start inside MasterCard.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Charity begins at home.
Yeah.
If your own employees are not inspired to start something priceless, how are you going to go out to the big world and inspire population and masses of people to inspire, right? Now, talking of the outside world, so one of the things we started was a very deep collaboration with World Food Program, which, as you know, is a part of United Nations and a very credible organization. Yeah. So what we said is, let's start the movement of fighting hunger. So, and we wanted to create this movement of fighting hunger through our core business, not as a philanthropic activity. So we call this priceless causes. So one of the causes is fighting hunger.
Yes.
So we said during a particular period in the year, use your MasterCard instead of using something else, instead of doing a cash or another competitor's product or a check or whatever. And each time you use it, we will contribute a small fraction of the money that we make on that for this cause of feeding hungry children. We ran this on an experimental basis in year one, in the fourth quarter of 2016. And it was so successful that we have been able to adopt, or rather sponsor, 40,000 children to be fed at their school for one full year. So one meal a day at their school. Now these are kids from very, very underprivileged backgrounds.
Yeah.
Now that gave us a lot of encouragement. And this year, we have really scaled it up at a global level, where we have committed to contributing to 100 million meals.
Wow.
That's really at scale, right? Yeah. And the way we are trying to bring it to life is, for example, in Paris, we have put billboards all over the city. And these billboards are enabled with our technology of contactless payments. So it shows an empty classroom and says, tap here to feed a child for 1 week. So when you tap, it takes €1 from your card. MasterCard matches that contribution. And on the screen, you suddenly see one child occupying a chair or in front of a desk in his or her class. So you are giving some kind of a tangible representation and therefore a gratification for the consumer that their effort is actually feeding this child for 1 week.
So there is the old world of branding, and I wrote that book with David Arca, Brand Leadership. It's all about, actually you'll see in that book about MasterCard and the Priceless campaign, and it was how you sponsored the World Cup, in fact, back then.
Right.
We have an image of that in that book. But this is not just sponsorship, because you are you are inspiring, you said that word. You're inspiring the consumers toward an action.
Exactly.
It's not just, okay, I go in a stadium and I see all over MasterCard or Adidas or something. That's sort of the key. So if you think about it, if you're a Netflix user, you indicate your preference, which helps Netflix to improve the programming that they offer you, the house of cards they create, and so forth. So the consumer, you program, indicate your preferences and what shows you watch, that is contributing to Netflix intelligence of how they need to do the programming that creates value for everybody else like you and me watching Netflix. So in the same way, MasterCard is inspiring an action that creates a movement.
Yes.
And so I think this is the beauty. It's really not advertising and marketing and sponsorship. It is really, almost inspiring people to act, and you are sort of an orchestrator of that platform, if you will.
Absolutely well said. Absolutely well said. So basically, we are trying to inspire people to start something priceless. We enable wherever we can, but we're not asking consumers to depend on us to do anything. We are saying just do what is good, and that will make a difference to the world. If I have to just spend a minute on another example for
I like to hear that.
We partnered with Stand Up to Cancer Foundation to find cures for cancer. And similar to the fighting the hunger issue, we said, can we find cures for cancer or help find cures for cancer? And this foundation has come up with a very unique methodology of pulling the best of the doctors and researchers and form into champion teams, or they call them dream teams, and they are focused on discovering drugs or cures for cancer. And they have been so successful in the last few years. They already have 5 drugs that they have found for different types of cancer in a record time. Typically for one drug, it takes about 12 years from molecule to FDA approval. And here there are 5 drugs in about 7 years. So what we're trying to do is, again, involve our consumers to raise their awareness on one hand about cancer. Like, for example, in the US, you have got 1 out of 2 men will be inflicted by cancer somewhere in their lifetime, and 1 out of 3 women. Many people don't know, and you have to take precautions. You have to. So one is raising the awareness. The second is do something about it, which is raise funding, and then channel that funds or those funds into research to find cures, and we got 5 of them so far. Now, when you tell this back to the consumers, they feel inspired
Yes.
to do more.
Yes.
In the process, what happens is they associate the brand
Yes.
with a good social purpose. Because unlike probably even 10 or 15 years back, right?
Yes.
Today, 80% of the consumers expect that the brands not merely throw advertisements at them, but to A, believe in something
Yes.
and do something about what they believe.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do, connecting people in an authentic, credible way
Yes.
in areas that truly matter to them.
Yes,
That's
but
all I do.
does it always have to be good? I read here in one of your quotes, you said millennials demand that brands do good.
Absolutely.
You said that before.
Yes.
And so are you appealing, because I am not quite a millennial, are you just appealing particularly to millennials?
No.
Oh.
No. As I said, we have close to 2 billion consumers, right? And millennials are a portion of them. So we have to appeal to everyone. So different strokes for different folks. And therefore, we have 4 platforms. Priceless Causes is the one which I just outlined.
I see.
With the fighting against cancer, fighting against hunger, and so
Yes.
on. Priceless Cities appeals to the aspirations of people who have accomplished a lot in their lives. So I'll give you an example.
It's not me. Sorry. So I'm not your segment then. I maybe keep using American Express, I guess.
No, please don't. You have to give us our daily bread. So please stick with MasterCard. We are the best. So what we typically do is for affluent segments, for example, we curate experiences that money cannot buy. These people have money,
Yes.
but it's not money. Okay, but we create and bring something to them that they can only get it because they have a MasterCard. As an example, there is an experience in Chichen Itza, which is the pyramid complex near Cancun in Mexico. When you buy this experience from MasterCard, when you get this experience from MasterCard, you go to Chichen Itza pyramid complex after everyone else has left. So you have the whole complex to yourself, and you get such an ethereal experience out there.
Oh, yes.
And that experience is amazing.
Yes.
Or
It's a priceless experience.
it's truly priceless. So we're bringing priceless to life through these experiences.
see.
So for the affluent
I
segment,
see.
these are the experiences.
I see.
For millennials and for the mass segments, for example, we have got priceless surprises, which I told you, like the example of
yes.
Justin Timberlake,
Yeah,
etc. And that creates an energy behind the brand. It creates a differentiation. And the whole idea is, hey, if I have a MasterCard, I may get a priceless surprise.
Yes.
Okay, and we sort of capture those priceless surprises moments into videos and then put them on the social media, get amplification and so on. And that strategy seems to be working very well for us.
Yeah. Now, as I've thought of meeting you for this conversation, I thought that platforms, real platforms like Apple, Amazon, they all have this well-developed ecosystem and they work very closely. Amazon would not be profitable, I think, if they wouldn't have third-party sellers who sell on Amazon their products. For example, Apple would not be Apple if they wouldn't have the developers that create the apps on the App Store that makes our iPhone so useful every time. And when I thought of MasterCard and the opportunity you sit there, you have on one side the charities that you mentioned, the stand up for
The
cancer,
causes, yeah.
the causes.
Yeah.
But you also have banks that issue your card.
Yes.
You have merchants. You have 2 billion consumers.
Correct.
You have the governmental regulation. All of these things. So you are in the center, if you will, of
That ecosystem. Yes.
And I am thinking that when I think of this amazing MasterCard Priceless movements, you have an opportunity to engage and connect all of this entire ecosystem, and which goes way beyond sponsorship
Exactly.
of cancer.
Exactly.
So So is that the future? Because and then it's no longer about connecting with consumers. It's actually connecting an entire ecosystem.
Ecosystem, yeah. See, if you were to rewind 50 years, MasterCard started as a network, right?
Yeah.
So you have got banks or financial institutions and non-financial institutions. You had consumers
Yeah.
and you had merchants.
Yeah.
MasterCard was connecting these three
Yes.
and enabling transactions to happen, commercial transactions to
Yes.
happen on this network. So we started our business as a network.
Yes.
And so it's literally like nothing new to us, but it's very core and it's in our DNA. Now, what we are trying to do is to see how we can infuse the marketing element in a significant way into this whole network aspect.
Yes.
So when you get the power of network behind any cause or behind any initiative, not just MasterCard doing by itself, the merchants do something, the banks do something, the consumers do something, that's when the value creation happens in a significant way.
Exactly. We call it exponential. Exponential.
Yeah.
It's almost an exponential organization because, and you know that what gets me so excited is that wouldn't have happened 50 years ago because we didn't connect 50 years ago. But today we are all connected globally in an exponential way. In a way, we all have an iPhone. We connect.
That's so true.
Anywhere.
So true.
So you have a chance of leveraging that connectivity that and by basically to empower your ecosystem or inspire the 2 billion consumers to connect with hundreds of thousands of merchants, banks, and if you create that, if you leverage that movement, it's exponential. Let's say
it is
10x.
Indeed, it is indeed exponential.
Yeah.
And as I said, with 2 million consumers.
Yes.
Almost 50 million merchants or establishments around the world,
Yeah.
and you talk about 50,000 approximately banks. That's a huge network.
Yes.
That's a huge ecosystem.
Yeah.
And if you leverage that ecosystem behind any cause or behind any initiative, the momentum that you can get is truly exponential, as you rightly said.
Now, I'm just curious now, because if that is the case, and I love that thought, isn't the whole way of, I'm asking, Rasha, you are apparently hugely successful in being able to even kick off that movement. You inherit this Priceless campaign. Most CMOs would probably say, nah, I can't double that up. I can't improve on that. Why would I take that? I'm not. So you are going from priceless experiences to priceless movements. That's a big thing. Now I'm asking myself, when would Raja say, I have created the success I want to create? So what is the metric of success? It can be awareness, better image, better more consumers, because you already have all of that achieved. So how do you measure the success of movements? Is there a new metric, a new way of looking at the success you aspire to achieve?
Yeah. So I would say there are 4 different dimensions that we look at these success metrics. One, of course, is what you have alluded to as the brand. Is my brand growing better, stronger, and faster than anybody else in the right direction? So that's number 1. And for brand, we got a whole bunch of metrics. Number 2, is it making a difference to the business? Is my business growing faster? Are we able to sustain our competitive advantage? Okay, and that's a third platform. So first is the aspect of the brand metrics. Second is the business metrics. In terms of the growth of the business, the margins, are we able to retain them, and etc. The third one is, are we able to sustain a competitive advantage? And having a moat around, so to speak, in consumers' mind, they should feel that MasterCard is something special, something unique, something dear to them. The fourth one is, what is the impact? The impact in the communities that we are in, the impact in the society, the impact behind the cause of the causes. Like, for example, when we look at these priceless causes, the first one that we had done with, say, Stand Up to Cancer or with the World Food Program, for us, having 100 million meals contributing this year based on the strength of the program and the power of the network is the beginning of a successful step.
Yes.
But it is a journey.
Yes.
Till the time the aspect of hunger is eradicated, you have not done your job.
Yes.
And for us, this is the first step. But at least my metrics clearly show that I am able to infuse into my marketing programs a cause that people care about and truly create an impact in the society.
I love it. I'm reminded of Facebook. Facebook obviously also looks at how the brand is doing, and especially these days. But the way they measure their success is by, it's called DAU, daily average users, versus MAU, monthly average users. And they want DAUs higher to be the average on the month. So they had a good day when they engage, connect, interact with more consumers. That's their co-action, their movement, if you will. If you look at Kaiser Permanente, they're from California.
Yeah, I know them.
They are not just saying how many doctors you have visited and how much their health costs. They say they have a metric called healthy lives lived.
Yep.
Which is a metric that is their movement, their purpose, if you will, to use your words. And I love the fact that you have these four. I was waiting for those four. The brand, that's your primary, that's the first one.
Yes.
Then the business follows.
Correct.
The third one, and then the fourth one, the impact you make through the movement.
Correct.
And as these, I think this is really, that's what makes a platform, because you are suggesting that start a movement means get into action, interact and exchange, and you're measuring that in terms of even small impacts people make. So I love that.
Absolutely.
It's a very good one. Now, I'm sort of brands. This was your first of those four metrics. It's sort of, and we both share that passion for brands in our professional lives. And I also, as I thought about this, I thought that you are also onto something else with this effort. Namely, you're almost creating a new model of branding. The old model, the old MasterCard, let's not that old, 20 years, let's say, is still a bit of spray and pray. I like to say you communicate. You called it one way in one interview. Called it one-way communication.
Yes.
And now this is another model. That's a two-way communications. And in the old model, it was communicated. Before MasterCard, it was about communicating attributes. We are the biggest global platform. We are the better, we are better, faster, cheaper. If sort of any attributes would your competitors use. And then MasterCard came and says, no, it's not about another attribute. It is about experiences, priceless moments, the ones you talk about.
Yes.
That's how you rewrote almost branding back then, 20 years ago. But now you're onto something else again, because you're rewriting branding not from communicating, but from how do I create, inspire action, connection, interactions in that ecosystem. So help me explain. I mean, are you sensing that same a new movement toward another branding model?
Totally, and I think this is also very purposefully done, right? Let's just pause for a minute and think about consumers and their habits today. As marketers, we are supposed to understand our consumers, be sensitive to their needs and pain points, and help solve their needs and help avoid their pain points. As marketers, nothing new. This is how it has been since the beginning.
Yep.
Now, if you look at the pain points of the consumers, they're in the middle of an experience of looking at a television program or a movie or whatever. They are there for the experience of watching that movie on the TV or on whichever the screen it is. Suddenly, if you interrupt their experience with a bunch of advertisements, that is an annoyance to them. They are irritated. You are disrupting their experience instead of allowing them to have a seamless, smooth experience.
Netflix can tell that story. Did you read that Netflix inserted advertising and consumers voted against Netflix because they said, I pay $10.99
to keep these ads away.
That's right.
Literally, right?
Yeah.
So that's the point. So on one hand, we should recognize as marketers that consumers don't like being interrupted. They don't like their experiences being interrupted.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, with the advent of technology, a lot of consumers are now putting ad blocks on their digital devices. So the statistic I have seen, around 600 million plus digital devices have been activated with ad blocks.
I have.
Right? Now, which means you have literally blocked all ads reaching you. Then, of course, you got paid content, whether it is YouTube Red or Hulu or Netflix at this point in time, which is ad-free experience. So people are even willing to pay to keep these ads away. So they're deploying technology, they're paying payment, and they're telling you repeatedly, I don't like ads, I don't like being interrupted. Now, as marketers, how can we then not solve for that pain point? We cannot keep holding on to the same paradigm and say, I don't care what you feel, I'll keep shoving ads at your face. That's not the way to look at it. So with this in mind, what we said is, it's not about advertisements in future, it is all about experiences. How do you connect with consumers? Okay, and the way we, for our brand, what our brand positioning is, connecting people with priceless possibilities, right? How do you connect? And the connecting for us, the solution is through experiences.
Yes.
But providing experiences is very difficult. It's very expensive. It requires a lot of executional excellence. It requires assets. But we have been on this journey for the last 5 years. We are building incredible array of sponsorship assets. So across those 9 passion points that people truly care about, in each passion point, we have generated a lot of experiences through sponsorships that we are actually spending money. So we have been moving money in a different direction than merely increasing more and more of our one-way communication or whatever.
From impressions, across impressions, from interruption to interaction in priceless experiences.
Beautiful. That's exactly what.
This is a new model for branding.
And that is making a difference. And if you look at, again, the growth of my brand, in terms of the attributes that matter to us, it's fantastic. And so we are sort of, it is validating our hypothesis and we are moving this direction. In fact, very provocatively, I keep saying, advertising is dead. I.e., storytelling is dead. It's all about story making.
I read some book that talked about this. I need to bring it up quickly. It's a book just came out by Sunil Gupta of Harvard Business School. It was called Driving Digital Strategy. And it talked about this one aspect of your opinion about storytelling. And you say it is not about storytelling, it's about story making. And I think that and then it describes an entire model of how you think. It's called a digital engine at MasterCard. Can you help us explain that? And because that, I think, is a critical part of this new brand building model.
Yes. So what you do is, we have created what we call as the digital engine. Internally, we refer to as the Priceless marketing engine, wherein we try to firstly follow what is happening in the social media and understand what are the micro trends. Micro trends are trends which last for less than 3 days. And there is always a micro trend that happens. Now, if you talk something in the context of a currently active micro trend, you are connecting with the consumers very well. So that's a starting hypothesis. Now, what we do is we create something called an emotional spark. So we, for example, have a number of brand ambassadors who are celebrities, and we create a small content piece with those celebrities and release it into the social media.
I see.
And have consumers engage. When consumers engage, they're commenting and they are talking about it. We read into what they are saying, what drives them, what they're interested. Based on that, we create a promotion or we create an offer, all in real time. It takes less than 12 hours. In the old days, for a campaign to be launched, it would take us 8 weeks, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Now it takes less than 12 hours. We do that. And then we dynamically optimize. Are consumers reacting to it? Are they responding to it? Are there behavioral patterns changing in our favor? Are we influencing their preferences? So that feedback loop is very quickly connected. And then we feed it back. Okay, if this is the emotional spark, this is the emotional engagement with the consumers. This is the offer we have created based on what appeals to them, or the promotion or the campaign. Get the feedback. So we create the whole loop. So the entire engine is it's automated.
Yeah.
And we have launched it in Asia almost now 2.5 years back. And now it's there globally. And what we are at this point in time, getting into the second generation of that engine with artificial intelligence and things like that. But that's more to come.
And it's almost a virtuous cycle of building the brand, connecting with consumers.
Exactly.
Building the platform, expanding from 2 billion outwards and on and on and on.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
I unfortunately have to say that we are at the end of the time allotted on the clock. So I don't know how I can conclude, because I thought this was such an amazing conversation, and you have given our viewers so many good insights. And I have to just say that, this is the beginning. It's not the end, right? This is the beginning of a journey, because unlike the campaign world, in the campaign world, you do a campaign and then you run the campaign in media.
True.
When you have the ambition of inspiring consumers, when you ambition to build a marketing platform, then every little step, it's one step at a time, and it's a continuous step that creates network effects and exponential growth. And it only comes from continuously pushing, if you will, encouraging, inspiring, learning through AI and making it work. And it seems like in the process, you are defining so many new things, how marketing is done. I so welcome and want to thank you, Raja, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Much, much appreciate. Absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
And privilege.
Great pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you.